Hey church, happy Thursday morning. Pastor Brandon back with you, looking at question number 4 today as we glean from God's Word together. In what ways have you noticed God's Word refocusing you? As we went through, before we got to Christmas, we were doing a series on Revelation. So really what I would say, as Pastor Matt was preaching, I was thinking about, I've been going back through Revelation. It really challenged me back in September, October, as we were going through Revelation, to really think through how I'm living and Christ's return and how I'm preparing for that and what I'm doing. And so I've been kind of going back through that, and I just got through the letters to the 7 churches, and I just thought about myself and refocusing on what is that word saying to me specifically. A lot of times when we hear God's word or we read God's word, we focus on others, like we talked about on Tuesday with Martha. And so what I've been really focusing on as I'm reading through Revelation is, what is God saying to me specifically? And how can I implement God's word into my life? Because it's one thing to read God's word and be able to spout it to others, which a lot of Christians, we're really good at that. We're really good at throwing out a verse at somebody else. But God's really been refocusing my heart on, how am I living out God's word? How am I the hands and feet of Christ? How am I like Mary? How am I like Martha? And how can I combine those two attitudes of service and abiding, right? As Mary just sits at the foot of Christ and just soaks in that time, but then you'd still have Martha doing good things. So how can we kind of bring those two things together and keep our heart focused on Christ, but also being Christ to everyone we come in contact with? And so that's really what God's word is doing for me as I look at that question. As God is refocusing me, He's refocusing me on my attitude in service, so that number one, I want it to be Christ through me, not me just doing things. And so that's where God's really focusing my heart. So hopefully you can have some good conversations about that and what God's doing in your life, or maybe it's just, hey, maybe we should start reading the Bible a little more. So yeah. Have a great Thursday morning. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you soon.